Yeah, he did. That's why I said welcome to
Exactly.
Copenhagen.
Oh,
I saw
okay.
that.
It's
Okay.
already
Okay.
going.
I thought we were just doing sound checks and stuff. Okay.
Yeah,
Sorry.
we like to. Are you shooting this? Yeah. Okay. Perfect.
Okay.
We like to start with people just talking about basically anything because then the conversation actually start going
Yeah. Cool.
very like natural way. So
Very good. Very
usually
good.
we do that. So, but officially, welcome in the studio. Welcome
Thank
at
you.
the
Thank you.
podcast Royal Cups of Copenhagen.
Yeah, I've really been looking forward
Oh,
to
hey
a
Siri.
really serious part of the conversation.
Uh,
Always listening.
Yes.
Did you notice when you just talk about, I want to buy a Skoda, I want to buy this sweater, I want to buy this. Then the next time you open your phone, then there's a commercial on Facebook or something
Yeah,
for.
yeah, yeah. And I
It's really
saw like I saw like Joe Rogan talk with the guy who, who is like behind the software of that and so on. And he said like this is all conspiracy theory.
Yeah.
He's like it's not real, but it's like everyone's having the same experience,
Yeah,
So
yeah,
it's kind of,
yeah.
you know,
It's really weird, and I was freaked out this week because I almost jumped into the scam, and I'm normally not the person being
Right.
caught up in these AI scams, but there was this what do you call it, first with MrBeast on my Instagram that said I created this game. I love giving money away, which all of us know is true if we've been following MrBeast. You
Yeah.
know that he's giving money away, but now he created a game so everybody in the world could get cash from logging into this game. So that was one thing I was like, no, I'm not gonna click that. And then this guy Sean, who's from Brighton, what's it called? He has his own podcast and YouTube channel and all that.
Link. What?
Sean Dawson.
No, it's
Sean Cannell.
yes, exactly.
What is it called?
And
Think Media.
Think Media,
Yeah.
exactly.
Think
And
Media.
they're doing a conversation where they're talking about MrBeast's new game, and you can be able to, get these massive, huge prizes and all that stuff. And then I'm like, okay, I'm downloading this game on my phone
Yeah.
right now because I trust, what that guy says. And
Yeah.
then just before I'm about to enter all my dates and all that stuff, I'm like, oh, wait a minute. So I go online and I search, okay, scam, MrBeast, and this game thing and all that, and then they do these deep fake where they change what MrBeast is saying, they change what Sean is saying, they change the conversation. They even took a television program in the US warning viewers about downloading this game. They took that news episode and they changed what the reporter is saying. So the reporter is actually making a commercial. Everybody should download this game right now. So I'm like, oh man, if the world is gone that,
Crazy.
bonkers and mad in deep fake and all that stuff. Oh man,
That's crazy.
So this conversation could not actually be happening right now. It could just be deep fake.
Exactly.
Deep fake of us talking.
And how would the
And
viewers know?
I never said anything that I just said.
So AI.
It's just AI. Yeah.
I've heard a conversation. I don't remember where was it. I could imagine it was on the podcast that is Lex Friedman. I don't know if you heard that.
Yeah.
I think it was him. He had somebody and they were talking about this like there was like a year ago everybody was on NFTs, right? Everybody. But the thing is that like the technology of the NFT is supposed to kind of transform a bit and become like a online signature where you can prove that this video is actually not generated by any AI. So this is actually a real video. They are thinking that this is gonna happen because right now it's so hard to know what is reality, what is not reality. Yeah.
To be honest, I was freaked out that it's that good.
Yeah.
Like I saw these stuff done with Elon Musk doing, commercial about I bought stock here, but that was so obvious that this is like a deep fake thing.
Yeah.
But them, faking like an interview and a commercial, all that stuff. I just thought, okay, they're getting really intelligent in the way they are trying to scam people. So.
Yeah,
It's
this
a
is the
big
first
new
time
world.
they're here with deepfake, but I have a friend who lost some money because he clicked on a scam, and he was like because here in Denmark, there's like a logging system, So if you're gonna like give out money, or if you're gonna log in, there is like a
Verification.
exactly
Yeah.
that is
Yeah.
sent by the government, and you
Yeah.
need to put your like ID number and things like that, and so it's connected with the government's that database. So it's very hard to fake that, but these guys, they were able to do that. So you will click in a link and you log in with your government credentials, so everything looks so legit. And then my friend lost a lot of money, because of that. They're becoming very creative.
Yeah. And they say also with AI, they're getting more and more accurate. They're getting more and more like they will do like a complete Amazon looking site where you go and buy a product, but it will never be shipped. Like they just take the money. So interesting world. Sorry for
interesting
just
one.
getting into this
No, but
line.
it's good
been
because
really,
I actually wanted to ask you, how much of AI are you actually using as a pastor in the church? Like, do you use ChatGPT to make sermons, or like how far is it going?
I use ChatGPT quite a lot. It's a really good tool to do research. It's a really good tool to come up with like creative solutions. I've had about 3 books I've been trying to write for the last 15, 20 years. I've been writing here and there, and then you get stuck on an idea or like an angle and stuff. So not, right now as a pastor, I use a lot of different AI tools, but sharing some trade secret. You heard it here first at the podcast. Don't want to give away all my secrets, but I can give you some of them. But anyways, so I use all my sermons, for instance. I would take them and I would put all my notes in ChatGPT, and then I would say, I made this, what do you call it?
Like a summary?
Yeah, I made this template for how I want the blog to be written. So I want to start out with a felt need. So take the topic of this sermon and connect it with a real human felt need, like fear, or the need to be loved, the need to have a life of significance. For instance, for this next blog in first Sunday of January, it's going to be like, do you ever feel like you're not the lead character in your own story? Like there's somebody else who's like the main person in your own story. So start out with a question that will draw, on the felt need of people, and then connect that with the overlying message. Then give 3 practical steps. How can you implement this in your everyday life? End up with 3 questions that, for you to consider within this topic, and then a link for this Sunday's message. So there will be like a YouTube link. And we've actually done this already from this Sunday, and then to the end of May. We have already uploaded to our website every blog for Open Church sermons, because we made all the topics from now until end of May for every Sunday. So we're in different series. So for instance, in January, it's going to be about decisions, better decisions, happier life. Your decision will lead you into. So we did all that, and basically I used AI to help me with taking the messages, turning them into a blog, also quotes. It's like, give me 3 quotes from this message that I can make an Instagram reel on, and then post that, and then also make a 1-minute speak that will encourage people to come to the service this Sunday. That will also connect with the message. Again, start with a felt need. Like you guys, you're pros at this, but it's always about connecting with something the people that are watching they feel. So we've uploaded all the blogs until end of May. So every Sunday at 1:00, there's a new blog that will connect to YouTube, but it will take the message and then give that structure.
So you're basically like already like so the way you use it is that you feed it with something that you yourself have reflected and prepared. but then you just take the AI as a next step into expand that content.
Yeah, it makes all the heavy lifting. Like for me, I have 20 plus years of messages, sermons that I prepared. Like even some weeks I just do some message prep and have that in a folder. So I have a lot of series that I've never preached, I've never taught on. So what we do is we take like the next 6 months, and I always want to be 3 months in advance now. You guys, you've been working with me, you know, I'm not that far advanced in every month, but we are trying to really lift our level of, what do you call it? Preparedness and be ready to also have space. If every series we do, we are 3 months in advance, we can start to make a really cool advertisement, like videos, stuff like that. So we did that. We're doing an dangerous prayers in February. So 3 prayers is the prayer to ask God for more boldness, like make me bold. The prayer for God to use me, and then the prayer like Jonathan Edwards, Evan Roberts prayed in Wales when the Wales revival broke out. Bend me, Lord, like break my heart for what breaks your heart. So already we know in February we're having these 3. So I ask the AI with all the message notes I put in it, turn that into a 1-minute speak that would again connect with a felt need, and then end up saying, this Sunday you can come to Open Church and you can experience this, you know, and get some into the conversation about this topic. Yeah.
I remember you mentioned that you were trying to write a book. How is that process going?
Right now, actually, an editor, Australian editor that I've known for 20 years, is actually right now sitting and doing editorial, also helping me some ghostwriting. I'm not a native English speaker, even though you cannot hear it on my accent. So right now she's working on my book. So the book is called Unleashing Fearless Faith. So it's my own personal journey, my life story, but also all the crazy stuff that I have experienced God do in my life, which is a lot. And I would love to get into that as well. I think it would be very encouraging for people that know me, know my story. That and I end the book out like that, or it's in editorial now. Maybe the ending will change a bit, but it ends up saying, I hope when you sit back with the feeling that if God can use this guy, he can use me. And that is really my prayer, and that is my experience as well, that God wants to use people that put themselves in his hands and say, hey, whatever little I have to offer, you know, I will bring it to you. Like the Lord used the small guy who had a lunch bag, or the disciples stole his lunch bag. Even like the Lord multiplied that. He will take, it said he took the bread, he broke it, and he gave it away. So he will take what we give to him, he'll break it. Like you will be broken in your life. There will be seasons of breaking, and God is not breaking you to destroy you. God is breaking you for you to develop your character so you can carry more weight. And if you're not going through that breaking season, if you're not really allowing yourself to be molded, then as soon as the breakthrough comes, as soon as, you know, the doors will open up, as soon as you'll have influence, you'll have a voice, then you will not be able to carry the weight of that. So the Lord will take you into like you guys are photographers. You might have been in like a dark room, that like the old films. You would develop that in the dark room, and it will only be developed in the dark room, or else the film would be destroyed. And sometimes the Lord will take you to the dark room to develop you, and for your character to be molded, so you can carry the weight. And for me, I've been in seasons of that dark room, and I would love to get more into that. But but I can fast forward to the ending now. I'm ministering to, I'm speaking to more people every year than I think most Danish pastors combined together. And I'm not saying this to brag or to say, look at me, what I can do. I'm telling you that God took what was my biggest fear growing up, which was speaking in public. I had a stutter, so I could not say a sentence without getting stuck when I was young. So at 13, when the Lord really called me into ministry and called me to be a preacher, I thought, God, you're wrong. Like it's not me. I'm not able to do this thing you're calling me to do, because I don't know if you know, I have a stutter. I cannot talk. Like this was my conversation with God. But like Moses in the Bible, he had that conversation, and God said, hey, I know, dummy, but I will be with you. And that's the key change. And that's why I can say now without pride or any, what do you call it, bolstering about all the things God is using me for, because I know every time I fly anywhere to minister. I was just speaking for the German Pentecostal movement a week before, about 1,500 people in the room, and when my wife and I flew back to Copenhagen, I'm hearing this song every time, like, thank you, thank you, thank you. You don't have to come, you always do. I'm so thankful that the Lord would use me, and through my breaking, but also making myself available, he's taken that, like Paul calls it, the broken, what do you call it, jar of clay. So in this vessel we are hidden. That's where the treasure is buried.
Yeah. When you were mentioning breaking, what would you say that was your toughest breaking point in your life that God needed to use to actually make you more like like to be able to obey him more, or some in that direction?
There's been quite a few. Oh man, how long time is this podcast?
This is like 1 to 3 hours. So.
Okay, that's good. There's been many. There's been like when the Lord called me to be a preacher. That was actually let me take you there, and then through the desert afterwards. So this was like the burning bush experience of Moses, and then I went to the desert afterwards. Not because the Lord wanted me to go to the desert, but because I ran from that call. So the Lord, when I was 13 years old, this minister from South America called Carlos Anacondia, who was like, he is still alive, and I'm in connection with his son now, so I'm trying to meet him before he goes to heaven. So yeah. Anyways, he's ministering, he's preaching, he's going, and then he's inviting, saying, if you want to live your life for Christ, if you want to follow him, come to the front. So I run to the front together with a few hundred of other people, and then as I'm standing there, I see it's like a film going before my eyes. So I'm seeing this vision, but I'm fully awake.
Could you not see anything else? Like through your eyes, could you see actually what is around you?
Yeah, I was like closing my eyes.
Okay.
So with eyes closed, I'm like from seeing this reel going through my eyes, and what I'm seeing is that 13 years old, I'm seeing myself in that auditorium ministering, preaching, and I'm like, Lord, this cannot be me. Like I have a stutter. I cannot say a sentence without getting stuck. So this is not me. Like I'm not the one doing this. So and the thing is, I'm in this room. I'm seeing this room with my eyes closed, but the room is being extended to the double size. And I'm like, Lord, this is the room, but it's double size. And why did they move the stage from the middle of the room to the end of the room? And I'm like, this is so weird. So I'm having this conversation, and then afterwards I end up just running from this and just saying to the Lord, hey, I have a stutter, I cannot do this. So I'm 18 years old, so this is 5 years later. I'm hired to play at this event. I played the bass, I produced music, and that's what I did before I became a pastor. But this guy turns around at the end of the meeting. He comes from Australia. He's like a traveling minister, and he points me out and he says, young man, you're running from the call of God on your life. You're not called to play music, but you're called to be a pastor and a preacher. And I knew this all the way from I was 13. Like, this was the vision. This was what the Lord showed me. So basically, I just repented right then and there, and I said, okay, Lord, now this guy called me out, and he ended up moving to Copenhagen, and I had the privilege of serving him for the next 7, 8, 9 years as he lived in Copenhagen. But the cool thing was that I went to Bible school, and then the first time I was invited to preach somewhere, I'm rehearsing the notes back home. I'm like stuttering my way through. It takes like 30 to 40 minutes for me to stumble through my notes. And then when I go there on Sunday to preach, I'm speaking for 15 minutes. I'm done with all my notes. I didn't stutter once. And I was so surprised, I just sat down. I was just like, what's going on? Like, what's happening? And luckily, the pastor there, he finished the message and did like an ending and all that. But I was so surprised and shocked that I was speaking for 15 minutes without stuttering for once. So I just knew, okay, Lord, you called me to do this thing. And if you call, if you guide, you will also provide. Like, the Lord is not looking for super ability or supernatural people. He's just looking for natural people that will trust in a supernatural God. So, long story short, a few years later, I'm ministering in this auditorium in Maya, and they extended the building to the double size. And for 2 years, they moved the stage from the middle of the auditorium to the end. And then for the rest of the years, it's been in the other end. But when I stood there for the first time, it was what I saw when I was 13 years old, right there in front of my eyes. And I just broke down crying just before I was going to preach. I was just, Lord, this was what you showed me when I was 13. So, I tell you, I'm so happy that I trusted him. And I just said, okay, Lord, I don't have much, but what I have, I give to you. And you can use me in whatever way you want. And then I asked him, show me a picture of what's next. Show me an image of what you will do. And what he showed me, I spoke about that for 15 years, 20 years. I've been talking about that vision. And people, I think many times people have thought, hey, this guy is crazy. But last year in September 18th, my wife and I was invited to Lakewood Church in the U.S. And a funny story, I was there the first time in November the year before, or actually in November 2019, so just a few months before the pandemic. And it was Pastor Joel Osteen and Pastor Paul Osteen, who's the brothers, but also there. I'm talking with them, and Joel Osteen asked me, so a lot of people feel really intimidated and scared when they see this auditorium. And like, I was so freaked out, but because that auditorium was what the Lord showed me, those 15 years earlier when I was standing. So I'm looking at this, and I just blurted out, said, yeah, I'm gonna minister, or I'm gonna stand on that stage one day. And I think they laughed and said, oh, this guy's crazy. But 2 years later, my wife and I, we get invited to share our testimony of what God did in Open Church during the pandemic with drive-in and all that. That's a great story. We can put a pin in that and take it in the next episode or later. But so September 18th, 2020, 2002, my wife and I, we were on that stage, and what I saw 15 years earlier, that huge auditorium, I think that's like 18,000 people seater, 2 services, and 4 million people watching live, 40 million watching online, YouTube, television, all those streams. So that was really, really just a full circle of what God was doing in my life. And my wife and I, we talked afterwards, like we were not nervous, we were not like anything. We were just like, okay, this is a moment that God prepared for us. Like this was 15 years in the making. And I think the Lord pulled me through all those seasons of me trusting my own ability and saying, okay, I have a stutter, I cannot speak, to me going through a season of really, really being broken, because I had been a pastor for about 20 years, and I resigned because I felt like the Lord was calling me into itinerant ministry, to travel and to minister, to pray for the sick and all that stuff. And so I wrote to everybody in Denmark saying, "Hey, I'm resigning now as a pastor, and in 3 months' time, I'm fully available, like anywhere, or 6 months' time." And then afterwards, like I had 0 invitations. So I had 6 months of like 0 preaching engagement. And this is after me ministering for 15, 20 years, just every Sunday in ministry, in church, doing church, preaching. And so that was really a weird season for me. So this is about 6 years ago now. And so I had this six months of just isolation. But the cool thing that there's never been a season in my life where I didn't feel God so close as it was. It was like I had like an open heaven. I could hear His voice so clear. Every morning at 5 o'clock, He would wake me up. I was a bit annoyed in the beginning. I was like, man, it's 5 o'clock. I have no agenda, no schedule. I have nothing to do. Why do I have to get up at 5? But I think my mind didn't really wake up, so the Lord could really speak to me. And for 6 months, it was like that. And I was just in worship and prayer. And then something amazing happened. I got my first invitation. And a former student of mine who was in Sicily invited me to go there and minister. And so as I go there on Ryanair, so we had a lady in the flight collapse. So she's like just turning totally white in her head and not responsive, and they are calling out, "Is there a doctor on the flight?" And I'm thinking this girl looks.
I'm almost a doctor.
Yeah. So this girl, so just to get into my frame of mind at this moment, she was not responsive. Like, but I thought, is she has a virus that's gonna wipe out humanity, and this is a few years before COVID, so there wasn't any. We had some few scares like SARS and stuff like that. So my mind was just not in faith or thinking I should pray for her, anything like that. But I hear the Holy Spirit ask me, "Hey, you know a doctor," and I'm like, "Oh man, I'm gonna break the ice." And so I asked the steward, "Say, I'm a pastor, and I've prayed for sick people," and which both were true, but he said, "No, it's not time for that nonsense right now." But then he went to the back to sit down, and they cleared the seat just in front of me, so they put this lady right there in front of me, and then everybody went to sit to make an emergency landing into Frankfurt Airport. So I basically just put my hand on her head. And I just prayed out loud. I just said, "Jesus, I don't know what is wrong with this woman, but you know, and you have the power to heal her. So heal her in Jesus' name. Amen." And when I took my hand off, she sat up, and she color returned, and she was just as we made the emergency landing, they come with doctors. It was very dramatic. Ambulances there, fire trucks, all that, really like a movie. They come in to carry her out, and she says, no, I'm fine. And she walks out, and then the doctor comes in 6 minutes after and saying, hey, I don't know what's wrong with her. We're going to take her to the hospital to figure this out. And then I text my friend in Sicily to say, hey, I'm delayed. I think we're still going to make the meeting. This is my first speaking engagement for a year, so I'm going to make it. I'm going to do it. So I go there, and there is just a packed room, and outside there is way many more people wanting to get in. And I'm like, oh, is this normally like this? And he said, no, I texted on social media that what happened on the flight, and if you need a miracle, if you need healing, just come to the church tonight.
Let's go.
And so I shared the story, and I prayed for people, and it was really a great night, and a lot of people had an encounter with Jesus. Yeah.
Do you think that God wanted to use the time of you, like not being able to book any of the meetings, to kind of like show you that this is not in your power, this is in my power?
Yeah. It was like that, because at one point I was, to be honest, really frustrated. I was like, Lord, you led me out in this desert. I thought I was following you, resigning. All my peers, they said, you're crazy. You have one of the best, well-paid pastoral jobs in Denmark. You made it. You're on the top, the biggest church in our nation. Why did you resign? But I resigned because the Lord told me to resign. I was still a part of the church at this point, but I was in this weird place where I thought the Lord guided me to use me, but He wanted me to really do something in me before something was ready to flow from me. So I would know this is not because of you, Thomas, but it's because of my power flowing through your life. And the cool thing was that at the high point of my frustration, I would cry out to the Lord and say, I'm so like irritated. Like, why did I go into this desert? And then the Lord asked me, would you rather have, like, this was typical of the Lord, but He said, would you rather have your peers' recognition and a full book calendar, and me turn my back to you? Or would you have me recognizing you and knowing you, spending time with you, and then everybody else not knowing even you exist? And I was like, Lord, this is so easy, because it was such a precious time. To be honest, the Lord used me really in this season as well to other stuff. Like I would just follow Him in small things. Like one day He tells me, go to this city. So I book again Ryanair flight, €10 there and back.
Ryanair is not sponsoring this episode.
No, I could tell a lot of crappy stories about Ryanair as well. Most of my stories about Ryanair are not good, but anyways, cheap flights. But anyways, I go there, and so I'm okay, Lord, what now? And He says, go to this church or these pastors. So I go there, and they say that we were just declared personal bankrupt today by the bank. Normally we're not home. And I'm like, oh, then I know why I'm here. The Lord sent me to encourage you, to say He's not done with you. Like He sent me all the way from Denmark to be an encouragement to you, to tell the Lord sees you, and He sees your sacrifice, and He's not forgotten you. He knows you're there. And then like the next week, the Lord tells me, buy a ticket to Paris. So this was like early April. So the weather here in Denmark is still awful, terrible. And I really hate the cold weather, and the dark. Sun goes down at 3 o'clock. It comes up at 9 o'clock. It's really, Anyways, I buy a ticket to Paris. I don't hear the Lord say anything. So I go downtown. I'm near the Latin quarters, nice cafes, outdoors. Spring is coming, flowers are coming. It's a bit warmer. I'm sitting just in my open jacket T-shirt, just relaxing, having a cup of coffee, and I'm asking the Holy Spirit, so why am I here? And just with the blue sky and the sun shining, he just told me, I just wanted a relaxed, romantic trip to Paris with you. And I just started to cry. I was just like, what? Like, I paid 10 euros for the ticket return, but I was like, I'm here in the sun. Like, he knew that I was almost like winter depressed with all the darkness and all that, to get some vitamin D from the sun, and just having a romantic day in Paris with my wonderful Lord and Savior. I never shared this story in public before, by the way. People think I'm weird, but that's okay. The Lord really wanted intimacy with me, and it was a funny way of him showing it, but it was such a nice way. Christina's gonna be angry when she hears I'm sharing all the crazy stories, but that's fine.
It's good. We want to hear all the crazy stories.
It's all good.
Actually, I wanted to ask you and go back to what you said. You were standing on the stage in the Lakewood, right? Mm-hmm. So that was the fulfillment of the second vision. Mm-hmm. Then my question is there a third vision? Did you ever receive? Yeah. What is coming now?
Yeah, you know me well, Simon, because I wouldn't take that experience without asking the Lord, like I did 20 years ago, and like I did, and like the vision He showed me almost, it's almost 37 years ago. Yeah. He showed me the first vision, so I asked him, like, show me what's up, and I saw Royal Arena packed with people, just encountering him, and so let's go. We actually already booked it, but the pandemic shut it down again. So let's see. It's in the Lord's hand. Like my job, our job, it's to be obedient, to follow Him. To do the next thing He puts in front of us. The results is up to Him. I think we get it wrong if we believe that the results are up to us. It puts pressure on us. So like He did with both Lakewood and in Maya, all that, it was all Him. I of course followed Him. I went through the open doors. I took the opportunities to be faithful in doing what He placed in front of me, in the small things and the big things. So that's been a really, really interesting journey. Yeah. So
you mentioned you have shared in Lakewood about what happened in the pandemic times.
Yeah.
Can you share what was so special that you actually shared it in front of so many people?
Yeah, there was. It was really a cool story. Like you guys were a part of it. I think back with the pandemic hit, we as Open Church were only 5 months old, and I was freaking out, to be honest. Like my wife Christina, she just quit her job. For us to go full time, let's go. Like, it's going so well with the church. Let's go. So we just put everything on one, board and just said, let's go. But then the pandemic shuts down the world. And when your name is Open Church and you're forced to close down church, like I said in Lakewood, Houston, we have a problem. Houston, we have a problem. And so that was really a stressful season, because I was not even thinking about the church. I was also thinking about the church, but how could Christina and I pay our next mortgage if I couldn't get a salary from the church? Like we share a salary from the church, but how could we just survive as a family if we're shut down for the next 6 months or the next year or whatever? But my wife, she said, hey, let's pray. Let's put the church in God's hands where it belongs. So we prayed. We said, Lord, this was not our idea. This was your idea. So this is your church. And we prayed. And we said, Lord, thank you that you will build your church and the gates of hell will never prevail against it. So I went to bed, and then at 2 a.m. I was just awakened with this weird dream of cars driving into a parking lot, big stage, big screen, subwoofers going, and just live worship, live preaching, and like a drive-in church. It was such a weird dream, but I didn't go to bed again. I was just thinking, this is so strange. And I think at 7 o'clock, I called our production guy, Casey, and I said, Casey, I have a crazy idea. I just want to share it with you first. And he's like, man, that's so weird. That is fun. And and he said, I know all the right people. They have stage, sound, everything is in storage because everything is shut down. So sorry, everything is shut down. So we can get everything on a good price. So he figured that out, and then we set up. You might remember, Simon, there was a blizzard, snow blizzard, the first morning when we came there. It was so cold. It was just like snow, and this was like middle of March. So this was 2 weeks into the pandemic. We're setting up for drive-in church, and they're saying it's too windy, it's snow blizzard. I don't think we can do it. And I went back to my house. Was about 600-700 meters from where the venue was, outdoors. And I just went to my office, went on my knee, and I said, Lord, this was not our idea. This was your idea. And when the service started, it was blue skies, and it was the wind died down. And this is a miracle. Like, if you don't believe in miracles, this is a miracle. For every Sunday when we had the drive-in church, from 11 o'clock to 12:15, we had no rain for 4 months in Denmark. Like, if that's not a miracle, I don't know what is.
And that was winter.
And this was like
spring,
from March until June. So every Sunday there was one Sunday, 12:20, the heaven just opened up. It just like, people got so wet. Like, it was
I remember because one camera was totally rained over.
Yeah. So, but people in the car, like if you go to the drive-in and you have to sit like this, like, and so basically we had 4 months with no rain in that, time slot. So, but then the crazy thing happened was that I sent out some press releases as well, saying we're doing this weird thing. I didn't think nobody would show up. But then the newspaper showed up, Politiken, which I've never read any positive article about faith or church in that newspaper. But they, even on the social media, they posted an excerpt of my message saying, God is not angry at you, he loves you, which was just like, what? Wow. And then the next Sunday, television showed up. So TV2 News, they did live broadcast from the service, and the evening news, 6 o'clock and 7 o'clock, they did 4 and 6 minute segment on this drive-in church. And they had, mind you, back then there was nothing happening. Like, nothing happening. Everybody was inside, afraid, is this pandemic gonna wipe out humanity? So I think the Lord really gave us a platform into every household in Denmark, and even even at the Palm Sunday, there was an article in Taipei Times in Taiwan of the Pope doing online church and Open Church doing drive-in. So that was really, really fun.
Yeah, I remember specifically the Sunday that you mentioned, the first one that was snowing in the morning. I was the one playing the guitar and singing on the worship, and I remember like I put like at least 8 layers just to be able to heat up my blood enough so when it comes to my hand and fingers, so I can move them to play the guitar. So that was
was that cool?
That was, bro. I don't think I have ever played in a colder weather than that.
Yeah, and then for Easter, Good Morning Denmark invited us out, and when I said us, this is still in the pandemic, so I have to come alone and sit alone, don't interact with anybody, like two meters apart and 6 feet apart. So that was really strange. But then the journalist took me in, interviewed me, and he asked me, so what's the difference between this Easter and a normal Easter? And I got to share with all of Denmark that in Good Morning Denmark for 11 minutes, like this Easter comes so close to the original Easters because the disciples were behind closed doors, afraid to die. Their master, their savior, was just killed. So they're in fear. We're behind closed doors. We're in lockdown. We're afraid to die. But in the midst of the disciples' fear, Jesus showed up and he said, "Do not be afraid." And then I got to share with my whole nation. If you invite Jesus into your home, he'll come with his peace and his joy and his love. You have to invite him. So that was so amazing. And then it just blew up from there. 40 different nations did articles, and from Copenhagen to Copenhagen in Copenhagen, New York Times came in, did an article, and it's been a crazy ride for those 4 years with Open Church.
How do you actually, like, with all that publicity and all that, like, sudden interest of, like, the world in you and in the church, how do you actually stay, grounded in God, like that you, like, if you think about it, it's not me, it's God, like, how do you keep that mindset that you stay grounded in God? And
I think I come back to the 13-year-old Thomas every time, 14, 15, 18. I still had a starter after I started preaching. It was only years after that the Lord totally removed it from my life. So for a long time, it was only when I was preaching that my stutter disappeared. So I just go back to that and said, okay, this is who I am without God, and this is who I am with God. I know what I can do without God, and I know what I can do with God. So for me, that's always a hard check. Also with the church, it's His church. I don't lead the church. I serve the church. And we use these vocabulary always. Like you hear me every Sunday say, "Hey, I'm Thomas. I'm one of the pastors here at Open Church," because it's not my church. It's His church, and I get the privilege and the honor to serve. That's also why there is no task that you haven't seen me done at the church, and I will still serve even when I'm not a pastor anymore.
I haven't seen you leading worship yet.
Oh, I got to play with the band this Sunday. That was a lot of fun. I was actually having so much fun. People. I think my daughter asked me going there, "You're smiling more now than you normally are," and I'm like, "Oh, this is my love language. Have the privilege to play music." So the bass player got sick this Sunday, so I had to jump in, and that was a lot of fun. Yeah.
We were talking also about you on the plane and the miracle that happened, and I wanted to actually ask you, what do you consider the, like, okay, let me put it this way: when you prayed for people, what was the biggest miracle in, like, that you experienced? Which one do you consider that was the biggest one when you prayed for somebody?
Yeah, the biggest miracle every time. It gets me every time. That's when a lost person that doesn't know Jesus opens up their heart and say, I want you to be a part of my life, Jesus. That the miracle that you go from being spiritual dead to becoming spiritual alive, like it's like the Matrix. Take the blue or the red pill. If you take the one pill, you'll never be able to go back. Like as soon as you got that spiritual pill from Jesus, your life will turn from gray, black and white, to a life full of colors, and you'll have a dimension in your life that you never thought would be possible. So for me, that's always the biggest miracle. That is every person that get a personal connection with the Heavenly Father. So for me, that's the biggest miracle, and I always point to that miracle first, because people get so obsessed with, like,
supernatural experiences.
Yeah, like I saw this blind person, this cripple, this, and that becomes almost like the
new religion in a way.
Yeah, and also it's almost the goal to see that blind person healed. That's never the goal. The goal is that that person experience God and experience how good God is and how much He loved them. So no matter if people get healed or not, I want them to encounter God. I love when they get healed as well. So, but I think the biggest thing is that they are not just another, what do you call it? Another tattoo. I can like say, hey, I did this. I did this thing. I have another
testimony.
I have another gold star in my book. I prayed for this. So they are never they are never the means to a goal. They are the goal in themselves. So, but I've seen some crazy stuff happening. Like I went to Shanghai, and with the church there was a gate called Beautiful. No, it wasn't called Beautiful, but there was a gate, and in the gate there was a lame person laying there.
Okay.
And I was just like, whoa, this is too good. And I was okay. This guy's Chinese, and I'm Danish. He doesn't speak English. I doesn't speak Chinese. So I just went over. I just said in Danish, silver and gold I do not have, but what I do have, I give to you in the name of Jesus. I pulled him up, stand and walk, and he just plunk, just fell to the floor. I was so embarrassed. I was like, oh, sorry. I was like, but then there was another blind person sitting next to him, and I was like, last weekend I saw a blind person healed, so I was okay. Let's pray for this guy. And nothing happened. But then there was another lame person. I thought, okay, let's go again. So I said, silver and gold I do not have, but what I do have. I pulled him up, and he jumps up, and he runs back and forth, and he's completely healed. And the reason why I always share the two other stories first is that you will always have, experiences where God did not do what you asked him to do and what you believe that he had in his heart to do. I believe the Lord has in his heart to heal everybody. Why everybody's not healed when I pray for them, I don't know. I had 2 meetings, one in Venezuela and one in Albania, where everybody we prayed for got healed. But my main goal is to pray for everybody and to have faith for everybody to get healed. The result, again, that's the Lord's. Mm-hmm. That's his job is the result. My job is the obedience. And like this crazy story is that sorry, let me just finish with the Shanghai story. That the reason I also tell, it's because with the 2 other stories you can relate to that, and then you stop doing it because, hey, I tried it there, it doesn't work, I'm gonna stop doing it. Mm-hmm. But the reason why the third person got healed was I had the audacity, I had the boldness to pray for him, even though I failed. It seemed like God didn't show up at these 2 things, but I still had the audacity to say, okay, Lord, you can do something for this man. And I think that's the story for me. It's like, just keep going. I just keep believing. I keep trusting. I keep having faith that God would do the impossible. And I've seen him do that so many times. So let me back up a few months before this incident. I'm in Tanzania in a place called Basutu, and there was a guy with me from Copenhagen as well, and we're there together, and we're praying for this guy who's blind. Like, his pupils, they are gray, like totally gray pupils, so brown eyes and gray pupils. So he's like, you can see, something's wrong with the eyes. And then as we're praying, as we have our hands on this guy, suddenly the pupils change color, and it goes from gray to black, and the guy starts to scream in Swahili, and I don't speak Swahili, but we had a translator who said, "I can see, I can see." I was like, "Dude, can you get more excited?" Like, this guy just got totally healed. Like, you were standing right there. You saw the same thing we did. Why why no more excitement? But I can see, I can see. Anyways, I turn around and this weird looking lady, she comes walking towards me, and I'm like, that's a weird looking lady. But I can see like her right eye is completely white. So I'm like putting my hand on her head and praying for her right eye. I said, Lord, what you did for this guy, do for her. And I took my hand away, and there was nothing happening. And I was like, okay, man, what do you do then? And I was like, okay, let's pray again. I prayed one more time, and then as I moved my hand, 2 brown eyes are looking at me, and this person is completely healed. And I'm like, oh, wow, what's happening? And then next night, she's standing up on stage giving her testimony, being translated into English by our amazing translator. And he's sharing her testimony. And she said her testimony was, she brought her knife because the spirits told her to take her knife and kill the men of God. So she brought her knife to kill us. And as she came over to kill us, I put my hand on her head. I'm so happy that my arm is longer than hers. But I'm even more happy that the arm of God, reached from heaven and touched this woman and healed her and set her free. And she was totally transformed. Like, you can even see in her face, she almost didn't look the same anymore. Because, where there once was evil and darkness, now there was life, there was light. She received Jesus. And the guy who's a missionary there, he sent me a photo a few months later of this woman. You could hardly recognize her. So much beauty and inner healing had happened, and she was studying now theology also to become a pastor, which was amazing. Yeah. So I've seen some crazy things, but that one was one of the one of the first ones.
And those things happened after your kind of like a break from ministry.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So this was in the end of those 6 months. Yeah.
Okay. Interesting.
Yeah. Yeah, so that was like it says, Jesus was baptized and the heavens open. The Holy Spirit falls on him like a dove, and there's this voice from heaven saying, "This is my beloved Son, in whom I'm well pleased." And Jesus hadn't done anything, hadn't performed a miracle, hadn't done anything, but the Father was pleased with him. And it says that filled with the Holy Spirit, Jesus was led into the desert, into the wilderness. And I think something happens to us in those, wilderness moments, because it says when Jesus came out of the wilderness, he was filled with the power of God. So there was an infillment, but there was also a release of power in his life as he walked through that wilderness season. And I think that happens with all of us, because if the first, 200 people you pray for, all of them get healed, like you're the superstar. Like, everything you touch will turn to gold, and I think you start to miss that. I don't do anything. I'm obedient. I put my hand on people, pray for them, but he's the superstar. Like, he's the one who does it, and I'm just the servant. Yeah.
Do you believe that it's God's will to heal everybody?
Yeah, I actually do, because in the Bible you have every person that came to Jesus was healed.
So if we just talk about it, like like in a way that, like, let's just discuss, or let's just see, why is it that God doesn't heal everybody that we pray for? Do you think, like, what do you think is in the way?
Yeah, this is a great frustration of mine, and I think for many people, and it's also led many people astray. That I prayed for my mom, she didn't get healed. I prayed for my friend, she didn't get healed, and now I'm angry with the Lord, or I thought the Lord would do this and he didn't do it. For me, the question is never why. I'm gonna ask him one day, like you had 100%, batting record. Like everybody that got in contact with you got healed. I see the first church, the disciples, they even put out people on the street, and the shadow of Peter would hit them, and they got healed. So we see this release of anointing and power, and I think my responsibility is always to do what the Lord asked me to do. And it says in Mark 16 that these signs shall follow those who believe. Like one of those things is put hand on the sick, and they shall be prayed, they shall be healed. Like my job is put my hand on the sick. God's job is to heal them. So I do my thing. He does his thing. Like my father-in-law died of an illness that I saw healed hundreds of times. I've seen people healed of that illness, and still I would travel. I would pray for people. I would see even cancer disappear. Like this guy had, 3 tumors, and they had a, what do you call it, X-ray from the doctor. Like, this is the tumor. This is an X-ray where the tumor is shrinking. This is an X-ray where the tumor is gone. Like, and this was like from bad to good, not from good to bad. Like you could see the date on the thing as well. So I would go into my father-in-law's room also when he was very sick. I would put my hands on him. I would pray for him. I said, Lord, you just healed Muhammad down in Albania, who's not even a believer. He's a Muslim. You healed him of cancer. And his daughter came 6 months later and thanked me that her father was still alive and he was cancer-free. I was said, like, Lord, why would you heal this guy that doesn't even believe in you? And this one of the best persons in my life, my father-in-law, died of an illness that I saw in that season healed many times. And he made me promise that I would keep praying for people, I would keep believing. So actually at his funeral, when we just put him in the ground, we are sitting there, my wife Christina and my mother-in-law, and we get to pray with my father-in-law's unsaved niece, and also the sister of my father-in-law that were not believers, but one had surgery in the hands, had a lot of pain. The other had bad knees and was going into surgery. So both of them completely healed at the wake. Like we're sitting there, we just put them in the ground of a sickness, and then God heals these 2 people. We got to pray for them there. And like we prayed for one hand, it was just like, I have no pain. Can you pray for this hand as well? And we prayed for the other hand, all the pain gone. Prayed for the knees of the sister, all the pain disappeared. So why does people not get healed? I don't know. But I know my job is to put my hand on the sick and pray. God's job is for them to get healed. But the thing is that often we draw back and we start to build theology around our experience and what we see and what I can see and touch. That's the real thing. But my theology, my life is built on the Word of God, and that says you should put your hand on the sick and they will be healed. So that's what I'm doing, and I don't understand why everybody doesn't get healed, but. And I'm frustrated about that, to be honest. Sometimes really frustrated that the Lord doesn't show up always. But I know He shows up often enough for me to keep doing it, and also inviting others to do it. Like just last week, this girl came up to me when we were in Herning. And just crying, just saying, like, you guys prayed a few weeks back. I was losing my hearing, was like down to 80%. She had taken out the hearing aids, could hear. Like, this is just a few weeks back. We had another lady 2 weeks ago in Germany that had almost lost her eyesight, and I asked her, so when you were at the eye doctor, what line on the board could you see? And she said, what board? I couldn't even see the board. And now she could see, like, how many fingers do I hold here? Like, and I was, walking further and further away, completely healed. And so the result, it's not my job, and that's why I'm totally relaxed when I go and minister, because the end result is not mine, it's his. My job is obedience, and he will take care of the results.
I 100% agree with that. But you said something before that, like you said, everyone Jesus prayed for got healed. And also there is sometimes they got healed instantly, other times it was a process. He had to pray many times.
Yeah.
He even asked,
Yeah.
are you healed? Or can you see now?
Yeah.
And it's like, I can see people like trees and so
Yeah,
on. And so he prays again and gets healed.
Yeah.
Which shows that, like, it's not a magic trick. If Jesus had to pray more than once, like, what about us, right?
Yeah.
But there is something you said about that everyone he prayed got healed. But I've heard also people saying that Jesus healed everybody, and this is something I believed for many years, but then there's this guy, that Peter is like, gold and silver I have not, but I have this, and then he just pulls the guy gets completely healed, and that guy, he was there for many years, but these also was a place where Jesus, he preached. So Jesus was there preaching in a place where there was a sick guy who couldn't walk, and then afterwards the disciples show up and heal the guy, So Jesus didn't heal the guy, obviously. Jesus was there, but he didn't heal him. But then the disciples healed him afterwards, so happy ending, but I just find it interesting, that, like, that sometimes we I'm not saying this is what you said, what you did, but many times we build we make a big statement, that maybe the Bible is not making, and then we try to question why this is not true when the Bible is not making that statement, and I feel like many times, if we were to just trust God, say, I know God heals, so let's just pray for healing, and if it doesn't happen, sometimes our response shouldn't be question God or question our experience, or just like, okay, fair enough, I did my part, and that's the conclusion you came up with, but it's I think what said in the beginning, like that the goal is not the healing, but it's actually intimacy with God, it's actually reconciliation with God. And I mean, even if we get our bodies completely healed, for how long that's gonna last, and maybe 50 years ahead, I don't know how many years we have in front of us, but if we were to, like, focus on eternity, we wouldn't be so caught up in asking why this is not happening exactly the way that I would like this to happen. And we'd be instead asking how can we make things to happen the way you want, God, instead, so we take ourselves out of the picture so we can put God more into the picture. And I feel like sometimes asking why things are not the way we want, we are pushing God out of the picture instead, so yeah, I had many of these questions because during a period in my life, my life was really not looking like the way I wanted, and I felt like God was at fault, and it's so interesting because when you describe, like, when you meet God, it's like it's like the whole world become colorful, and it was very hard for me to understand when the time came for me to go to that desert, or and it felt like everything not only just lost the color, but it's like everything completely became dark, and you said that that is maybe something that you felt as well, that doing that during your life. Do you have any I don't know if you want to make any comments on what I just said, but I have a question. Do you have any tips, or like how can people that maybe are going through some of those times right now, is there like a survival kit for it? Is there anything that they can practically do, or maybe a mindset, or maybe some type of like what can they do to survive and come to the other side and have the same positive outcome that you had?
Yeah, good question. And I think this is one of the things that often people really mess up, either because they how can you say, they abort what the Lord wants to do in their life, because they just run away, or they just like freak out, or they do something crazy. So I would say, number one, never take any big life altering decisions when you're in a low place. Like because when you're in your low place, you're not thinking straight. You're not really in a place where you should make a big change, a move, a shift in your life. Be where you are, and be healthy. Get into a place where you have life flowing again. Of course, if you're in a toxic environment, if you're in a place where things are really terrible, run, of course. But don't make the big changes, because you will often get it wrong, and then you have to like paddle all the way back. And then I would say the second thing is that don't follow your feelings. Your feelings are a terrible leader. They will take you awful places, and they will never be a good indicator of anything good in your life. I just left my wife, went with this girl because I felt so good. She spoke to me in a great way, and I feel like a real man, or whatever. And my wife is not speaking to me. There's not a lot of romance right now, or whatever. Your feelings, the Bible even said, like, the heart can be deceitful, and so number one, don't take big decisions, like altering decision. Number two, don't trust your feelings. Number three, that should probably be number one, but that is go to God. It says when David lost his son, he went into the temple and he prayed, like he worshipped, and then when his son died, it says he washed himself up, like he cleaned himself up, he took on new garments, and then he went in and continued business. But I think that process of us coming to God with our troubles, with our needs, that's the key for us to not lean on our emotions, or what our feelings tells us, or even just running away from things, but take it to the Lord, ask him, what should I do in this circumstance. Then the fourth thing is that surround yourself with good counsel, advice, people, friends that are in your corner, not people that just tell you what you want to hear, but people that tell you the truth, people that they have your best interest at heart. And this is the most frustrating thing for me, because I've so many times I have the best intentions. I want to help people. I bring up advice, but I can see like they're taking decisions that I know this is going to hurt them 5 or 6 or 7 years down the line, or even 5 months down the line, because they are following their emotions, or they follow some idiot that told them this is good or whatever, or they're following their own logic. So I said, I always say, surround yourself with good advice, with people that have wisdom, and then do also what they tell you to do, yeah. And then take the journey. Like, don't stop. People go through the desert and then they stop. Like, keep going. Because if you keep going, you're going to walk out of that desert. If you keep being faithful, if you keep being humble, if you keep being obedient, if you keep walking that walk, the Lord is going to take you out of that desert season again. And the Lord is much more interested in the journey than he is in the destination. And often we find ourselves, oh crap, I'm in the desert, I'm in the storm, I'm in the boat, I'm in this awful place. And Lord, this is not the destiny I want for my life. And why did you put me here, or whatever? And the Lord actually is not so much interested in that destiny, because that destiny is not where you're supposed to be for good. But for you to go from here to here, like, you have to go through that, spot or that space or that, uncomfortable place. But the Lord is gonna develop character in you, and often it's been said that your charisma, your gifting, your talents, your awesomeness can lift you to a level of influence that where your character cannot sustain you. And the Lord doesn't want us to come into influence without us having the character to sustain us, to carry us. I'm super tired of ministers not finishing strong, like falling short. Like, just the last few months, I've heard so many people I've looked up to. I read their books. Some of them I had the honor of meeting and talking with, but they didn't finish strong. They were mistreating women. They were abusing people. They were mishandling funds. They were unfaithful in the marriage. They did all these, crazy thing where, hyped up on power, like I'm the man of power for the hour. I'm the focus of God's attention. There's I, as the leader, I have to cut the ribbon. I have to be the one on every photo. Hocus pocus, myself in focus. And I think all that will lead you into a place where you are not gonna run the long race. And I tell our team all the time that we are running a marathon. We're not running a sprint. And because we're running a marathon, the pace, it's gonna be set for the marathon. And just tomorrow, actually, we have our 9 pastoral interns together, and we're going to talk about how to finish strong in ministry, because just 2 weeks ago I heard of the next 2 big leaders, one in Scandinavia and one in the US, that also didn't finish strong, that failed in ministry. So and I think it's those seasons of pressure, it's those seasons in the deserts, it's those seasons in the storm, where if we allow, the habits or the unhealthy stuff to creep in, like if we don't have any friends close by that we can say, hey, I'm struggling with this, or I have this issue, I'm dealing with, I'm watching pornography, or I'm opening myself up for this, I'm skimming off the funds of, or I'm spending money that my wife doesn't know about this, or I'm opening up my life for this thing or that thing. Like, if you don't have those friends, those people that you can share everything with, that you can be intimate with, to say, hey, I'm struggling with this thing, then that thing that you allowed to enter your life in those, season, that's going to take you out. It may not be 1 year down the line. It may be 15, 20 years down the line if you don't clean up house. And that's why I spend a lot of time always, asking the Lord to search me, to break me, to bend me, to always live my life with my wife in that way, that there is no area of my life that is hidden from her. Obviously, I had a friend who shared everything with his wife. Also, some struggles that I said, dude, you need to talk with another guy about that, and even a counselor about that. Like you cannot share that with your wife. Like it will destroy your marriage. Like deal with that.
Could you give a bit closer example without exposing just like what would you say that is too far?
I would say if you every day talk about that you were attracted to, a woman at the work or the boss or the, whatever, like that's gonna slowly but surely undermine your marriage. And for you to build, that trust, of course you have to work on your on your character, but there is a difference between being tempted and being having a temptation, and for you to allow, like Søren Kierkegaard, the great Danish philosopher, said, you can not prohibit or a bird from flying over your head, but you can, hinder it in building a nest in your hair. Like and that's what it's like with temptation as well, that it will fly over your head. You will see a gorgeous girl, but if it's not, I don't know who said it, but the first look is free. So like you cannot walk through life without being tempted, but it's you dwelling on that temptation. It's you okay. I use this illustration many times. This is easy for me. If something is tempting me, I will instantly, the moment I feel that this is something that is not good for my spirit, for my soul, for my life, I will immediately, if I watch something on television, if something pops up on my computer, or if something pops on my phone, I will not sit, is this bad? Is this not good? Like,
yeah.
Oh, no, it's, let me see from this angle. Is that, at the moment I have that feeling, I know, okay, this is not good. And I say, if you don't trap the mouse will trap you. Like, if you don't, click on that X thing, or you turn off TikTok or Instagram or YouTube or whatever, and shut it off. Like, just, it says when Joseph was tempted, or when Joseph was, seduced by the wife of Potiphar, he ran out the door. He didn't think, like, let me entertain this emotion just for a little moment. And I think that's the best practice, the best advice. It's just run. Like, when you're tempted, when something is, and your temptation, what will bring you to fall, it may not be the same struggle that I have, and the things I struggle with may not be the same thing you struggle with. And I think often we compare it, like, this struggle is terrible and this is okay. Like, you're struggling with something that is awful, and mine, it's like, the Lord doesn't really care about that. I think every struggle, every temptation, every sin, it's the same. It will lead to destruction. It will lead to death if you allow it in your life. So I would say clean house, have friends, have people close that you can share all that stuff with. That's for you to finish strong. So tomorrow with the pastoral intern, we're gonna share about 4 things that can bring your ministry to an end. What can bring your life to an end? And it's the same. It's sex, like temptation. It's money. And it can also be like for pastors in Denmark, when you cannot pay your bills, and you cannot, like right now, our interest rate has gone through the roof. Like, some pastors get tired of not being able to pay their bills, that they go and do something else. So it's not just about the misuse of money or having too much money. I think this is a U.S. issue. I've never seen a Danish pastor that had too much finances. Anyways, and then neglected family. It's a big one. if my family is not following and serving God, that's my first church, that's my first ministry, and for me to not finish strong, we just talked the other day about a minister in Wales who was a powerful preacher, powerful, like really big church, amazing. But he was like, the ministry comes first, and my wife, my family knows that Jesus and the ministry is just first. And it ended up his wife leaving him. His kids didn't want to serve Jesus or follow him, and I think that's what's gonna take you out in your life and in your ministry. So sex, money, neglect the family, and then power, the last one. If you're on a power trip, again in Denmark, Europe, I don't think it's as big of a problem. Of course, there is power dynamics and all that stuff, and that can work as well. But I think if you're in it for the power and for the influence and for the dominion, like pushing other people down, and you should serve me, or you should call me pastor, or you should call me apostle or pope or whatever, like then I think we get off track, and I think like Paul said at the end of his life, I'm the chief of sinners. Like he started being the least of the apostles, and then later in his ministry he was the least of the saints, and then he was chief of all sinners. Like the more you follow God, the more open you live your life, the more he will take you and mold you and break you, and you will see in the light of how good he is, how far you have to go. And I think being a servant and not a CEO or big boss, that also keeps that power thing in check. And I also always practice what Rick Warren many years said: a strong leader that finished strong and that did well. He said that he, when he goes to church Sunday morning, he hands over the church to the Lord. Said, Lord, this is your church. Like, I resign as the pastor, and I give you back the church. And then, but if you want me to lead it, if you want me to serve it, then I will say yes. But just for him to have that, self realignment of purpose and focus and all that, and also like Jesus is the leader of the church, and we are all just sheep following the big shepherd. But all of us, we look like a shepherd when you see us from the back. We all have sheep following us, but we are also following the big shepherd. So, yeah.
Rafa, I wanted to ask something before I saw. Is that still?
Yeah, but then we need to go a little bit back on those points if it's okay. First, let me start backwards then. And when we talk about the miracles, when we're talking about, I thought about that when, for some, Jesus and his disciples was walking, and they saw the blind man, and the disciples asked, "Hey, why he's blind? It's because his mother, his father sinned, came from a sinful family." Like, no, it's all so the glory of God can be manifest in his life. Not only about the miracle that Jesus just cleansed him, but more like with his sickness, how can he praise God and bring more people to, have an encounter with God? Because I'm just thinking about this guy. He doesn't have arms. He doesn't have legs.
Yeah.
But, just imagine like back in the days, people praying for him, like, hey, grow legs, grow arms. Yeah. And nothing was happening. And then today he will not be able to be this huge Christian, influencer in a way.
Yeah, Nick Vucic is
exactly like sharing the gospel and being people getting amazed, getting touched by his stories and everything. If he was healed, he would not be able to do that. But so like through the disabilities, I will use this word. People are used, or God, I think, sometimes prefer to use them. To bring his kingdom here. And this is one of my points, and why, because I remember when we was in Slovakia, we were talking about, remember, we were they're talking about why Jesus, why God doesn't heal everyone, and we were talking about this praying and so this topic that I believe many Christians talk about. They want to see the miracle, but it was very interesting what you mentioned, that it's more this the people has the encounter, they might continue to be blind, but then if they really like have encounter with Jesus, they know that there's hope. They know that this it's not that only this lifetime they're going to be maybe blind, and afterwards they will be able to.
Yeah, and a funny or cool story. I had an experience a few years back where the Lord told me, today you're going to see a blind person healed in Europe. And I've only seen Africa and outside Europe. But so this person in Switzerland is blind and is there right on the front row. And I'm like, I'm gonna see a blind person healed today. So I spent, I think, over an hour praying with this woman, and it seems like she doesn't, get healed with her eyesight. And after 1 hour, I'm so disappointed. Like I'm really, but she has to go and all that stuff. So, anyways, but next day I receive an email where she writes to me, I felt like every time I went to a church, there was like with healing and all that stuff, I was the means to another end. Like I was a target for like almost abusive prayers. Like people wanted to pray for me, not because they wanted me to experience the love of God, but because I was blind, and they wanted the testimony. I played for a blind person and they got healed. Like, so she really had a lot of experiences like that. And she said, you sat there, spent 1 hour with me, telling me how much God loved me, telling me that God had a plan and a future for my life. So she wrote to me, I was healed inside from all those years of spiritual abuse and people not seeing me as the end goal, but seeing me as something to have like a testimony or whatever. So I did see a person healed. She did see a blind person healed. She wasn't healed from a blindness. She was healed from like broken heart and like abuse of others. So since that testimony, I doubled down on people need to be loved. People need to know that God loves them. The healing, it's amazing for people in pain. That's important, but it's it's important. Yeah.
The one more thing that was about the desert. I was thinking about that every time that Jesus was tempted, let's say, use this word, against Satan himself, he was using scriptures, even though he was hungry, like, hey, do this, if you are really the Son of God, change these rocks to bread and feed yourself. And then Jesus going back, not by bread alone the man shall live, but for every word that comes from the mouth of God. And then move on in this like back and forth. Yeah. But it's more this going back to this, let's say, real life situation that when you are in this desert being mowed, that was the word also they used, like going back in scriptures. So when God asked the prophet to go down to the house of the pottery guy, and then he was making the pot, and then the pot was destroying in his hands, and then say, hey, can I not do this with my people? Or can I not do this with you? Like in this walk through the desert, can I just mold you back again the way I wish you to be? Because maybe you're a little bit cracky here, because those walks that it was away from me, but now that you allow yourself to walk on this or come to this desert, allow me just to remold you the way I want. There was also 2 quotes that I heard, that is the gold in his purest form is when he's in the middle of the fire. Like you cannot see like the gold pure and in the border, but right when it's in the middle, then you can really get the gold like in his purest.
Yeah.
So in this perspective is also like in real, when you are, I don't know if it's the correct way to use it, but when you are in the desert or in the suffering or in the
fire,
it's like in the fire, that everything that is kind of inside you that doesn't not supposed to be that, it will come out. You know, like if it's ugly, it will be even uglier. Or if it's, or if it's good, it also will come the goodness. And another thing was my good friend Jamie. I don't know if Jimmy, if he will be watching this podcast, but he told me one time that is for you to make like a sword strong, be able to cut all the sword, the process of like making this sword strong is like hammering. That's why also those times and there's more that you hammer the sword, more like damage. In the beginning you make to the metal, but then with those heating, putting on the fire, taking out, hammer again, put in the fire, cold water, this process will strengthen the sword, and making ourselves as being this source on this process to being put on the fire, being put on the water, be hammered, be put on the fire. With experience, we also get the main goal. It is to make our strong and be able to.
Yeah, and that's through the refinery. That's through the fire. That's through the pressure. That's through the desert. That's through all these uncomfortable things. But I see a lot of people like being upset with the family or with the coworkers or with the traffic or with whatever. And like I was cursing in traffic today, and that's because that idiot over there did this, or my boss did this, and I'm super angry, upset, or my dog peed on my laptop, and now it's like you kick the dog, you do this thing or that thing, or you're super upset with other people about your emotions and your. But the thing is, like now of course this is a glass, but if this was like a bottle of water, I could squeeze this, and then water would like flow out of this. And I think the thing is that there's something inside of all of us that if we get under pressure, that will come out, and it can come out like you screaming or at the person who cut in line down in Netto when you were shopping, or you can be upset or do all that stuff, and then you think that's on them, and that's because your kids did this thing, or your friend did that, or your mom said this, or your dad said that, or your boss is an idiot, whatever. But what's in you, what comes out of you when you're under that pressure, that's always on you. That's always what's already in you that comes out of you. So what happens around you, you cannot control that. That will always, be some stimuli that will affect your life. But what comes out of you, your response, that's always your responsibility. That's always on you, how you react. And this guy called Viktor Frankl was in concentration camp during Second World War, and he like now we go back to the B side of the, like we go to the deep scripts now of of theories. But Viktor Frankl, he wrote a book. He wrote many books. He was a professor, but he said that you cannot control what happens around you, but your response, you always have authority. How to decide to respond to anything. And he, in that concentration camps, he said that I'm more free than my German, what do you call it, personnel, the soldier with the gun. I'm more free because I have the choice to choose how I respond. That's on me. So I'm not just reacting to what's happening around me, but I'm proactive. I'm deciding how I'm going to respond. So when you get squeezed and all that comes out of you, that's because it's already in there. And that's what I think happens in the fire. That's what's happening in the in the desert, in those pressing places. That is what's in here gets refined, and the dirt, the gold becomes, and the dirt comes to the surface, and you can take out that. So I think you always have a choice what comes out of you, and I think that's why the Lord is so much more interested in taking us. I'm not saying he's bringing us into a storm or into a desert, but while we are there, he can use that to refine us, to get that filth out of our life and get some pure H2O flowing from our life.
There's also how the Bible describes that people will find out about Jesus. Like they're gonna question, like, why do you have this joy? And I don't think they would question why do you have this joy when in their eyes you have everything good. I think they would question, like, where does this joy come from when they see that there is no reason physically for you to be joyful. So your joy must come from somewhere else.
It's what like Jesus was preaching, right? And I think it was the mountain. When they say, when they persecute you, when they say false things against you, or be joyful. Rejoice.
That's nice.
Yeah, there's this thing about being tested, or being through to the testing. And for many years, for a long time, I thought of it as a school test, where you go through a test, you need to perform the best you can, and then you're going to receive a grade afterwards, but I see that with God, when he does the testing, is a little bit different than being tested in school, because like when you're talking about the sword, how it's being crafted, the Bible does describe us as iron sharpening iron, but it also describes us as a vessel, being formed, and the thing is, like when you're forming a vessel, to test it, you're not just going to throw it on the wall, so it's just going to be destroyed. If you care about what you're crafting, you're going to use that for the purpose you're making that, so to test the vessel, you're just going to maybe put some water in it, and if it spills out, maybe there is some other things you need to fix, and see, so I see that God, when he tests us, he puts us through a situation, or through what we've been crafted for. So if God is crafting loving us, this godly love, he's going to put us in a situation where this godly love that he's crafting us is being put to use. If he's crafting patience in us, he's gonna put us in a situation where this godly patience needs to be used. Otherwise, what is the point of him giving us these spiritual gifts if they're never going to be put to use?
And it says in 1 Corinthians 14 that it's for the use, for the benefits of all. Like it's not just for me to have a goosebumps or have great feelings, but when God gives us giftings, it's not for our benefit, but for people around us. And I think that's some things we get wrong also with the supernatural, is that we think, oh, this gift, it's for me and for my building my ministry, building my life, but it's actually for the benefit of others, for us to serve the people around us.
When we were talking about all of this, it comes to my mind that there is no better like how would I say it, like no better way of getting what is inside out when compared to like when you are in marriage, right? When you are married. So I wanted to ask you, Thomas, what is a key to a successful marriage?
Good question. Next year, I've been married for 30 years. So it's been more years together with my wife than alone. I think there are several things you need to really focus on in relationship. Like for you to just have the bare minimum of a strong relationship, you have to spend time with people, and you have to really at least maybe twice a week for you to like talk together, like what's going on, what's happening. For me, I'm not the most talkative guy on the planet. Like today I am. We're talking about things that interest me a lot. But I realized this question I ask my wife often. Do you have something on your heart that you think we should talk about? Like, just to get the conversation going. And sometimes she will say, no, not really. And other times it will take like us into a conversation. And so I think the first and the most important thing is that you spend time together. You talk together, especially when you get kids. It becomes really more like a partnership business arrangement, because you have scheduling, calendar, like you have all these stuff happening, and the household has to be run. Like you have to do grocery shopping, you do all that stuff, and suddenly it's not just you and her, and you can game and do all that stuff, but suddenly there are more people and all that stuff. So I think it's having those clear moments where you are intimate, romantic, where you are together. Like we go for walks together, and like when we're out, we were just in Italy. We walked for like at least 10,000 steps every day when we're on vacation. We don't do that every day here. We're trying to, but we don't really get there, especially with this weather. But we spend time together. We talk together. We are intimate every week, and I think also having friends that are like both of our friends that we connect with, both of us, that we spend time with. Like we've done this exercise, lost accounts many times. We divide everybody in our life in 3 groups. So all the people that Christina and we are investing in, and that when we are together with them, there is a withdrawal from our life. Like we give from ourselves to those people. Mm-hmm. Super important. We love it. It's what we live for. And then there are those people that are in the middle bracket. Those are our peers. So these are the people we can just relax, hang out with, throw our feet up in the couch, and just let our hair down and have fun. So that bracket it's all our peers, and then there are our, what do you call it, leaders or mentors, or those people that when I'm together with these people, my batteries are being filled up, my energy lives. I get somebody pouring into my life that I feel encouraged, I feel strengthened, I feel like now I can go an extra 200 miles. And I think the issue, especially for leaders, is that the low bottom of people you invest in, people that you have to serve, people you have to that takes a drain on your life, that often tends to be way too big. And the peer one diminishes over time, and you have to really be very conscious about keeping your friends and prioritizing friendships and putting time in your calendar to spend with them. And then the group of people investing in your life, you have to be very intentional, because those would often be people that are very busy, that are greater capacity and all that. So you have to be very to be honest, for the last 6-7 months we haven't been great at that, and that's why when we were away again, we took that conversation again. Okay, so who's in our 3 brackets, like who are those? And then as well, and this is not just for married couples, this is for everybody, families, brothers, sisters, everybody. That is the expectation gap and the expectation, what do you call it, arrangement that you always talk about. If you do something, let's take all the four of us, we say, hey, let's go to London. And we just say, yeah, we go to London. And all four of us, we are excited. We're going on a trip to London. It's going to be amazing. But Simon has an expectation. We're going to go to totally foodie and totally coffee. That's all we're going to do. Restaurants and coffee. That's it. And Kim is just like London. We're going to go to this club and hear this band, and then there's a concert with them, and so it's just going to be music all weekend. It's just going to be bands and music, and then Rafa, he's like, I'm totally into the Broadway. We're gonna see all the shows like Cats, and like every day we can put in two shows, and then when we go to and for me, I'm like, all these churches, we're gonna visit them, the beautiful architecture and all that stuff. So when the four of us, we come to London, like big conflict, big problem, because Simon had one expectation, Kim had another, Rafa had another, I had another. So we often say to young couples when we coach them, but also married couples, that set expectation and align your expectations before you go. For instance, when we started going on holiday together, before we had kids, it was not such a big problem. It was a problem. Christina, she wanted to go on holiday and action. Jackson, let's just go. Experience stuff, go to the beach, do. For me, vacation is find a tree, put up a hammock, just 15 books, and then I just lay there for a week and I just read, I just relax, eat some good food, and have, vacation. So for us, going on vacation, we had conflict because we did not align expectation. We had totally different expectation of what would happen, and that's why we had so much conflict. We were fighting like cats and dogs because we didn't talk about, okay, if you do this or I do that, or could we do this together, or let's talk about it. So we always tell people about that. To align expectation and talk about it, because in every relationship, I think a lot of issues, go wrong from that thing. I could talk for hours on this topic, and you just say when. Other issues, of course, it's communication. There is how many people does it have to start an argument? Two. How many people does it take to end an argument? One, exactly. So if one person says, okay, enough is enough, we are just like, how many people does it have to take a fight? Like you have to be two. How many to stop? One. So I think often we just keep, this thing just keeps building. So but it actually takes two for the build. It just takes one for the what do you call it, the decrease of the conflict or the thing that is disturbing the relationship. And I think just to have some conversations, for instance, for us, we would always have earlier in our marriage, often like at night, when it got late, if we got into some issues there, we would fight and be angry at each other and whatever. So we realized, okay, if we just stop discussing issues after 10 o'clock, the conflicts are going to be way less. Sometimes we go to the front yard if we have something to hash out, because we know in the front yard we're not going to shout at each other. We're going to keep it more civil. It's not going to... So stuff like that. And then always we also have a rule in our marriage that we never use never. and always, and you know, and I cannot read your mind. Like I don't know what you're thinking, and often we start to, oh, you always, you know, say like this, you're never like, we start to do, and it just becomes this negative downward spiral that just takes you to a terrible, awful place. And what you need to do is to flip the switch, and to then stop what is, you know, putting you into that hole, because the same thing will build you up, saying like, okay, right now it seems like what you're saying to me is the most idiotic and demeaning thing I've ever heard, but I don't think you really mean that. Would you just have a second to just rethink what you just shared with me? Because the way I heard it was that you really were, you know, talking down to me, or really diminishing me as a man, or undermining me, or whatever, like just sawing me off by the knee. But I know you love me, I know all that, I know that can't be your like intention. Can we reset, or whatever, or I can start throwing stones back and forth, but that would build it up. So, but there is a lot, and I think the best thing you can do is invest in your relationships, and that is by also investing in yourself, and get educated on how to dissolve conflict, and how to be a better friend, and be a better spouse, husband, wife.
In our statistics on YouTube, we have many people that are like younger than us here. So I would guess that they are not married yet. What would your recommendation be when it comes to of looking and finding a life partner, husband, wife?
Yeah. Wow, that's a good question. I would always say, and I've seen this so many times, people, you know, they just get head over heels for each other, and they're attracted to the six pack or the whatever, and they say, I know he's a jerk, I know he's always talking, you know, bad to me or whatever, but he has a really cool six pack or whatever. I think you always have to look at the values, and we tell every we do this premarital counseling for every person that I marry. So we will take them through 5 lessons about communication, about intimacy, about conflict, about love languages, and about what's the last one? Anyways, but to take them through these 5 things to prepare them for marriage, and then we also tell them 6 months later we're gonna talk again after you're married, and then a year later we're gonna talk again, just to change, like your car needs to go to the shop to get oil changed and all that stuff. But to come back to your question, what we always tell them is, what are your 5 values together as a couple? Like, talk about that, because often you then find out that, man, we don't want the same out of life. Like, he wants this, I want that, and if you don't have the same vision for your life together, it's just gonna be a mess down the line, because if you're just attracted to each other because of looks gonna change over years. But one thing will not change, that is if you talk about, like, this is the vision we have for our life. My wife and I, we have that together, like we're building a life together. People say you're growing apart, and I left her. We were not, but the reason you grew apart was you stopped talking to each other. You stopped, building a life together, because you had 2 different things you wanted out of life. You had different values, you had different goals, different vision. So we tell every couple that comes together, awesome that's attraction, awesome that you're into each other, but what are your values? What are your purpose in life? What is your vision? What do you want out of your life? And if you can't align on those, don't take it further. You're gonna spend 5, 6, 7, 8, 10 years with somebody that you're gonna end up drifting away from because you have nothing in common with them.
Right.
Cool. Any more questions or?
No, that's good. Oh.
Rafa, any last words?
Did you ever want a son?
What?
I have a son.
You have a son?
Yes, I have a son-in-law.
Yeah, I know.
I have 2 son-in-laws.
Yeah, that's enough.
Usually, I told Simon that he's my favorite son-in-law when I only had one. So now I cannot use that anymore because then the other son-in-law is going to be feeling less than. So I have 2 favorite son-in-laws.
How is to be a father of three girls? I don't know.
Ooh, that's a big question. I think it's been the biggest joy of my life, and sometimes it's been the biggest frustration of my life. But now just today we're together, decorating a Christmas tree, getting all the stuff from Christmas out, and just spending time with your girls, with your family, and I think it's the biggest. It's the biggest joy, and that's one thing I can also say, ending up this podcast also, is that the thing that is going to give you the sense of accomplishment, it's not often what you think it is, and when you come to the top of a ladder and realize it's leaning up against the wrong house, like what you were aiming for, like success or what that thing is for you to. This is my end goal. Like for me, speaking in front of 10,000 people, 18, 20, a million people, that's amazing. That's fun. But it's not something that does anything to my feeling of accomplishment, to my feeling of being a success. That's from, my daughter saying, "Dad, I love you," or "Dad, I'm super annoyed that I really look like you in this area," or whatever. And when is this broadcast?
As soon as possible.
Okay, because I have bought a gift for one of my daughters that says.
Then maybe don't say that.
She's not gonna watch it, but it says, "Oh crap, I look like my dad. Oh crap," or something like that. So it's a picture of her and me, and then I say, "I look like my dad. Oh crap," or whatever. So we have that kind of humor, but that's where the true feeling of success come from. It's not what's in your bank account. It's not the big crowds of people you influence or the masses. It's the one person that you see develop over time. It's seeing you guys develop in your leadership capacity. More come, every Sunday when I see you sitting, having fun or talking together and all that, and more people are joining that, adding to that. I'm like, okay, I'm a part of that. I'm seeing these people growing into be amazing people, leaders, people that other follows, and I have a role in that. I have a role in that because I go, I lead, I serve, I acknowledge, I come encourage. I'm a part of people's life, and that's the journey week from week. When I see you guys as well, also with OC Internationals and all that stuff, that growing slowly and seeing people succeed, that's the true feeling of my life is making an impact because of the people that I see growing up around me, and that's where the big feeling of accomplishments comes from. It's not the big crowds, it's not the big, vision out there. It's the small things in the everyday life that really matters. My wife leaning into me this morning, just saying, "Good morning, I love you." That's the true wealth and the true joy. of your life.
In the end, can you share when is your book coming out?
Hopefully in the beginning of the new year. So so it's in the last part of the editorial. And I think it's very good. I would recommend everybody get it.
What languages is it gonna be in?
It's gonna be in English. It's probably gonna be translated to Danish as well.
All right.
But I wanted to reach out to a broader audience.
Perfect. Thank you for receiving our invitation and coming to our studio. It was at least my, I don't know if these guys also enjoyed it, but I definitely enjoyed it. Yeah. So with those words, thank you for tonight. Bye-bye.